It had been 5 years since Amelia last saw him. 5 long years since she walked out of Daniel's tiny apartment in East London heartbroken, exhausted, and convinced that love without stability was nothing more than a beautiful lie. Tonight, the city was dressed in lights. London shimmered beneath a drizzle of rain, every street lamp reflecting off the wet pavement like 1,000 broken memories. Amelia adjusted her silk dress as she stepped into the grand ballroom of the Langham Hotel. It was her first charity gala, her chance to finally network, to prove that she'd made something of herself, and then, she froze. Across the room, standing beside a cluster of high-profile guests and photographers, was a man in a black tuxedo, calm, composed, magnetic. The world seemed to bend around him, her breath caught. It couldn't be. But it was Daniel. Only this Daniel wasn't the struggling artist she'd left behind. This Daniel was surrounded by London's elite CEOs, politicians, investors. And when their eyes met, his expression was unreadable, a mixture of pain and power. In that moment, she realized the man she had once left for being poor was now one of the wealthiest men in London. 5 years earlier, Amelia had been a university student studying fashion design. She met Daniel one rainy afternoon in a small cafe on Oxford Street. He wasn't anyone special, or so she thought. He was quiet, kind, always sketching in his worn-out notebook. His clothes were simple, his shoes slightly worn, but his eyes carried a strange confidence. He told her he was a consultant, which she assumed meant a struggling freelancer. In truth, Daniel was working undercover testing a social experiment for his late father's company, one of London's largest private investment firms. He wanted to understand life from the bottom, to learn what people loved him for, not what they could gain, and Amelia loved him fiercely, sincerely. For a year, they shared one small apartment. They cooked cheap meals, laughed at nothing, and dreamed of the future. But dreams don't pay rent. The bills piled up. The stress grew. Amelia's design internships paid little, and Daniel refused to tell her more about his finances. "Why can't you just take a real job?" she once snapped. He smiled sadly. "Because I'm trying to finish something important." But she didn't understand then. All she saw was a man unwilling to fight harder for their life together. One night, after another argument about money, she packed her things. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered. "Amelia, please. I love you, Daniel, but love isn't enough." And she walked out into the rain, leaving him standing in the doorway, silent, drenched, and broken. Daniel didn't chase her. Instead, he returned to the world he'd left behind. Within weeks, the board of Armitage Capital, his late father's company, announced his takeover as CEO. The quiet consultant was actually Daniel Armitage, heir to a billion-pound empire. But power didn't heal him. He built skyscrapers, funded charities, and bought houses that echoed with emptiness. Every accomplishment was haunted by the echo of her voice saying, "Love isn't enough." He never dated again. Not really. Every woman reminded him of what he'd lost, not the glamour, but the honesty, the simplicity. The girl who once kissed him goodnight in a freezing flat. Meanwhile, Amelia's life wasn't the dream she'd imagined. She worked for a fashion label, often designing dresses she couldn't afford. She told herself she'd moved on, but every corner of London carried a memory: the cafe where he'd made her laugh, the park where he'd promised her forever. Sometimes she searched his name online but found nothing. It was as if he had vanished. Until tonight. Now, as she stood in that golden ballroom, staring at the man everyone called Mr. Armitage, she realized the cruel twist of fate. He hadn't disappeared. He'd simply risen beyond her reach. Daniel approached her slowly, his presence calm yet commanding. "Amelia," he said softly, and the sound of her name nearly broke her. "Daniel, or should I say Mr. Armitage," she replied, forcing a smile. He didn't smile back. "I never lied about who I was. You just never asked who I could become." She looked away, tears threatening to spill. "I left because I thought you didn't care enough to change." "I did change," he said, voice low, "just not the way you expected." Silence. The air between them trembled with everything unspoken. "Are you happy?" he asked finally. She hesitated. "I'm surviving." He nodded, a faint sadness in his eyes. "That's what you wanted, stability, right?" She swallowed hard. And you? Are you happy? He smiled faintly, glancing around at the crowd of investors, the cameras, the glittering lights. I have everything money can buy, he said. Except peace. Amelia's eyes shimmered. I didn't know, Daniel. I didn't know who you truly were. He shook his head gently. You knew exactly who I was. You just couldn't wait for who I'd become. A pianist began to play across the room a soft melody that once was their song. Daniel extended his hand. One last dance. She nodded silently. As they moved together, the world blurred. Time folded. For a moment, it was as if nothing had changed, two souls swaying in a tiny apartment again, holding on to a love that once defied reason. When the music ended, she stepped back, tears in her eyes. Do you ever wish things were different? She whispered. Every day, he replied. But maybe some endings are meant to teach us what love really costs. He pressed a small envelope into her hand. Inside was a drawing. It was the same sketch he'd once made of her years ago, but now finished, framed, and signed with his name, Daniel Armitage. Keep it, he said softly. A reminder that even when love fades, its truth remains. And with that, he walked away, swallowed by the crowd, by the flash of cameras, by the world that had finally claimed him. That night, Amelia left the ballroom and wandered through the quiet London streets, the rain washing away her makeup and maybe, just maybe, her regrets. She looked up at the skyline, the city that had taken everything, yet given her the most beautiful pain she'd ever known. Some love stories don't end with forever. Some end with understanding. And sometimes, the person you left behind becomes the lesson you carry for the rest of your life. Because love, true love, doesn't always wait to be recognized. Sometimes, it only reveals its worth after it's gone.